better start talking.
Wendy's bucket of nuggets and bucket of chili. So you can make a little chicken nugget cereal.
He's a decent fella, isn't he, the president?
Homosexual, perhaps.
Oh God, Book 2, starring George Burns.
Hey, chill. I want what you want, brother.
Oh yeah?
I was just like, ooh, this is rated R, and there's like, there's sexy stuff in it.
Yes. There will be growth in the spring.
Good morning, fellow YouTubers. Bear Prepper here.
Hey there, friends and family. This is Dan. I'm here with the Dan and Adam Are Afraid podcast family extended universe. It is March 1st, 2026. A day some people never thought I'd make it to. I'm joined here by my co-host, Adam.
Hello, Dan. It's good to be back again, man. I feel like I look forward to this every week.
Feels like it's been a while since the last episode, since we talked about the groundbreaking The Running Man.
The Running Man, directed by motherfucking Edgar Wright.
And we're joined by a special guest, returning champion. Spaghetti, how you doing, bub?
Homosexual, perhaps.
Oh, no.
No, for the record, I'm not.
I'm so sorry.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. But no, I'm doing good today. Talking about being there, I'm being here on the Dan and Adam Are Afraid podcast.
Nice.
I'm so glad to have you here with us, Spaghetti.
Yeah.
Mainly because I'm really behind. I've had a really tough week. I financed a new car.
Oh, man.
Dan's about to have a really tough life for a while.
Dan's driving. That's the new show. That's exciting though, man. Getting into a new. So you went down to a dealership and talked to a dealer and everything?
Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing though. I have a family member connection at a dealership, and he's like a salesman, so he set me up like big time for being as irresponsible as I am. I got a very good deal.
Yeah, the details of that deal are.
I don't know, man.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's just bad. It's just bad. It's a lot of money, and I have to fork out every month now. So, while I bring that up, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and read our ad read here. Rate the podcast on Apple or Spotify. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Share it with a friend. Send it to your family. Hit the like button on YouTube. Subscribe. Drop a line. Leave a comment. Slam that notification bell. Join the Discord. Hang out and chat with us. Follow Dan's Night Out on Instagram and check out our other links in our description. Dan and Adam rely on the kindness of listeners like you, taking the time out of your day to make a difference. And our bargain remains. If you leave a review, we will read it on the show, live on air. Thank you. Now on to the program. It's episode 90, folks. Some people said we'd never make it to episode 90. Adam, what do you have to say about that?
Those people can go stick it where the sun don't shine. I censored myself there, Dan. You know, I want us to be a more family-friendly podcast.
Do you know who didn't censor themselves in the past couple weeks? The guy who has Tourette's, who yelled the N-word at the BAFTA award show.
I watched that the other night. I was doing some editing, and it crossed my mind. And I was like, I haven't seen that video yet. And, however you feel about it is fine. But that was one of the funnier things I've seen, for as awful as it is. And as awful as the whole thing, as the BAFTA people, as much as they suck at their jobs. Yeah, it was like a Come Town bit. It was just like, literally a South Park bit. Cartman gets, they do a whole bit on that, on Tourette syndrome.
I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. That's my final word on it, folks.
Homosexual, perhaps.
How you guys doing? What do you want to talk about? What are you guys bringing to the table?
Oh,
man, I don't want to talk about the impending doom that's happening all across the globe right now, but I don't want to talk about it, so don't make me.
Come on, help me! Help! I'm killing me!
Yeah, that's gonna be yeah. It's gonna be a bunch of Americans coming up here soon.
No, that's if you no. I mean, here, let me give my quick take on the world events of Iran. No one's going to protect Iran because they've already shown they won't. So this is just Iraq 2.0 or whatever the fuck, but way more stupid. And I don't know. Unfortunately, folks, the Western war machine has no match. And unless China or Russia say, hey, actually step in or do anything, nothing's going to happen.
You know, that's what people
nothing
say.
ever happens.
Okay, but
still in play.
It's not going to stop. I mean, given what happened in Iraq, that's the fun part to think about, is how there's going to be a lot more insurgents flooding into Iran. It's very fun to talk about up top in the morning. I brought it up.
Yeah, so it just is what it is. I don't know. That's all I've been thinking. Like, you just see on social media people who are like, I hope they don't nuke us on a Monday night after I get off from work. I don't want to get nuked after work. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Hey, at least you won't have to go to work on Tuesday. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. We are the war machine. We have nothing to fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they have that capacity to nuke us, to be honest. But
no, it's like that Breaking Bad meme where it's like, why don't you attack Russia? Are you crazy? They have nukes. Anyway, that's enough of that topic for today. I just wanted to throw it out there. I've been monitoring the situation, folks, and I'm uninterested, to be honest with you. But what I am interested in is why the Simpsons never age. You guys ever heard of this? You're aware that they've now retconned the entire series where like Bart is like a Zoomer or like a Gen Alpha.
Yeah, because Bart's like
Homer
years old.
Yeah, Homer was really into the grunge scene. He was really into Nirvana in the 90s.
Yeah. Homer's he's a millennial, technically.
Yeah, the first episode was in 1989, so yeah, they've had to, just as they kept them the same age, they've had to progress them in the generations. Yeah, it is sort of interesting.
I don't watch The Simpsons, but I know Adam's an avid fan, so I was curious to hear what he had to say about this. Do you like this? Do you like that they never age? I know they've tried aging before, haven't they?
I think I would be upset if like there'd be a noticeable drop off. There already was a noticeable drop off in quality of The Simpsons, but if they were having it where like, oh look, Bart's 23 now, and he's going
Bart died
to work.
of a fentanyl overdose.
Yeah.
Lisa's addicted to ADHD medication.
I'm so excited.
No, yeah, I think you got to do that. Like, it'd be weird if Homer and Marge were still reminiscing about the 70s, when they went to high school. So, yeah, it makes sense to me. I was watching some of the new seasons the other day, and it was all like Homer and Marge were on the couch, and they both had like their cell phones out, and I was like, that's weird to see, like the same age Simpsons, and they're out, But it would make sense because like now that's what we all do. We all sit
Simpsons
on the couch
got a
with our
side
phones
gig.
out.
He's like he Ubers on after work. After he gets home from the nuclear plant, he's like, I gotta go out and Uber some orders.
Hey Marge, yeah. That bit's got legs. I would like to see that episode.
They should hire us. Just give us money.
Hire fans.
Hire us. I have to pay for a new car. I don't know. Do you guys like The Simpsons? Do you think it should still be going? Isn't it like 30 years old now?
89. So what is that? Well, it was Christmas of 89 because the first episode was a Christmas episode. And then I think formally 1990. So that makes them 36, right? Give or take 35. Yeah.
Yeah, give or take.
Do you guys still watch? Have you guys watched a new episode in years?
I haven't.
Like I said, yeah.
My thing is, I could easily sit down and watch it probably if it was in front of me. I I just haven't gone out of my way to watch it. I think that I'm sure the episodes are fine and funny in their own right today. It's sort of I don't want to say diluted product, but I think the legacy of The Simpsons is sort of diluted because they didn't end it with impact. Does that make sense? The longer that they've sort of lingered, they've sort of lost that window to, time capsule it a little bit better. Yeah. So that's the only thing. I'm sure if I pragmatically sat down and watched an episode, I would laugh at it and stuff like that. So
I mean, that's so true, though. And that's like what strikes you about like Twin Peaks The Return and that's ending, or season 2 ending of Twin Peaks. It's like, no, it's over. We're done.
Yeah.
In and out. That's why I like miniseries. Like something that has, like with Refn, they just give them money for one season, so it's perfect anyway.
Yeah.
You can never follow up. But that's it. That's my topics for episode 90. March 1st. Thanks for joining us, folks. We watched a movie this week. Isn't that right, Adam?
Yeah, that's right, Dan. We watched Being There from 1979.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
I'm Chance, the gardener.
The gardener?
Yes. Since I was a child, I worked in this garden.
Then you really are a gardener.
Oh, yes.
May I ask your name?
Chance, the gardener.
Mr. Chansey Gardner. Are you related to Basil and Perdita Gardner?
No, I'm not related to Basil and Perdita.
Gobbledygook.
You know, Chauncey, there's something about you. You don't play games with words to protect yourself.
And no brains at all. The stuff with rice pudding between the ears.
On television, Mr. President, you look much smaller.
Dumb as a jackass.
As long as the roots are not severed, all is well, and all will be well in the garden.
In the garden.
Coffin, I'll need some information on Mr. Chauncey Gardner's background. What do you mean he's got no background? That's impossible.
Listen to that boy.
Mr. Gardner, the New York Times spoke of your peculiar brand of optimism. What was your reaction to that?
I do not know what it means.
Oh, he was very clever, keeping it at a third grade level. That's what they understand.
He's very, very sexy. But I think he's brilliant.
I raised that boy.
It's always somewhat surprising to find men like yourself working so intimately with the president and yet somehow managing to remain relatively unknown. Yes, it is surprising.
And look at him now.
I can't write.
I heard he speaks 8 languages.
I can't read. I like to watch TV.
All you gotta be is white in America to get whatever you want.
I understand.
Being There, made in the USA.
That's right. Being There is a 1979 American satirical comedy drama film directed by our boy, Hal Ashby. My only note here, thanks for joining us on episode 90, folks. Subscribe, like the video. This film was titled Chance in Japan. I had the hardest time because on our living document, I always try to include the Japanese poster and include the Japanese kanji alongside the English title, just for fun. We all love the Japanese kanji. And yeah, that's how I discovered this was called Chance in Japan and not Being There. Spaghetti, go ahead and read me the IMDB summary.
After the death of the old man forces him out of the only home he's ever known, a simple-minded, sheltered gardener becomes an unlikely, trusted advisor to a powerful tycoon and an insider in Washington politics.
I like to watch.
Getting there is half the fun. Being there is all of it.
Life is a state of mind.
A story of chance.
So this was directed by Hal Ashby. I know nothing about Hal Ashby. Spaghetti, you want to talk a bit about Hal Ashby? You want to describe him to our audience and to both me and Adam?
Yeah. So Hal Ashby, he was a cornerstone of the New Hollywood era, which New Hollywood is predominantly the 1970s, really starting in '69. But it's when Hollywood transitioned out of the studio system, and they were doing a lot more daring pictures, a lot of naturalism films, things like that. But yeah, that's New Hollywood era in a nutshell. But he was a cornerstone of the New Hollywood era, transitioning from award-winning editor to one of the most prolific and humanistic directors of the 1970s. His work is defined by its countercultural spirit, offbeat humor, and deep empathy for social outsiders. So to begin with Ashby, the first thing to note is he was an editor before he was a director. That's going to be a big theme with him. As an editor, he was nominated for 2 Oscars and he won one. He was nominated for a film called The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming, which is it's a comedy with Alan Arkin in it, and there's a bunch of Russians in a sub that land on a coastal town, and it's sort of a rat race.
Yeah, I was like, did we watch this during our movie club?
Yeah, we
Russian
did.
Month or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yep. It's got like a screwball sense to it. It's like a comedy of errors kind of thing.
John Philip Law, Danger Diabolic himself, is in it.
Yeah. And then Ashby won for the famous In the Heat of the Night with Rod Steiger and Sidney Poitier. And then both films were directed by Norman Jewison, award-winning director Norman Jewison. And so with that, Ashby held what was called the editor's edge, which is a unique philosophy that editing is the best possible film school. Many conventional directors focus on the grand vision of a set, but Ashby rather viewed his direction through the lens of the final cut. So even as a director, the editing room was his haven where he could study.
Yeah, so he was just in the editor's room the whole time. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah, he would escape quite often and go there. So it was his haven where he could study and apply relationship of performance and pacing. Early in his directorial career, he adapted the mentality that with editing, everything is up there on film for you to see it over and over again. You can study it, and you can ask why you like it and you don't. He also held the belief to forget about the script once the film was shot. Really letting the footage guide the cut versus referring back to the script. And then being a perfectionist, he was known to take his films home with him to edit, spending months perfecting sequences. So that's some items on Ashby there.
I love the idea of a director in the 70s having that setup at home to be able to edit his stuff.
Expensive.
You would need the whole shebang back then, huh? Running your film, cutting it, physically cutting it.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about on the Bully episode when I was talking about photochemical intermediate work and cutting different film prints and negatives and shit. It's like, what the fuck, man? So this guy is crazy, basically.
Yeah.
And I included a photo, and you can see that, he's a crazy man.
Yeah. Well, and he had to be very much of a established personality in Hollywood prior to getting to this level of success. I think that if he was a director first, which a lot of people go down that route, and then obviously he would fall into the more of the, sort of, run with the flow and then sort of just catch up at the end. But I think his real high attention to detail comes from the fact that he was established as an editor for quite a long time before he got his first directorial break. And then, and that'll be another thing that just as we go along and talk about the film, there's a lot of editing cues that I don't think would be accomplished if he didn't have that vision of following the film along from an editor's perspective versus a director's perspective.
Damn it. I'm hearing all this, and now I'm like, this is why I wanted to get time to watch it a second time, watch all the extras, and do all this shit. Because now I'm like, I can't even name an interesting editor's element because I was just trying to get through the fucking movie quickly. Fuck.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. I think that's sort of the beauty of watching the film, is that you're supposed to just sort of jump into it, not knowing that you're supposed to look for clues. It's all about perception, right? So the first time you watch it, you're supposed to just nonchalantly watch it, just as in a natural setting. And then as you watch it further, more things develop. So that's sort of the beauty of this film. So, yeah.
Let's get some first impressions here. Adam, what did you think about being there?
I really love the sparse soundtrack for sure. Like, I like the use of classical music being like coming along with like funk and whatever you would call Basketball Jones. I don't know what is that, early rap, early hip hop.
Yeah.
I mean, I really thought I love the whole I love the whole like dim-witted main character who is short on words and everybody fills in their own meaning to what he's saying. Like, I think watching someone fail upwards is it's a great use in storytelling. And I thought this movie was good. I liked it. I would watch it again, because especially like reading more about like this guy as an editor, I'm like, oh, I want to see what he's talking about.
Yeah, and you've never heard of Hal Ashby before, right?
So I never heard of him, but I have seen he directed Harold and Maude, which is my wife's favorite movie. And like I saw that like while I was watching this, I looked that up and I was just like, oh shit, I have seen this guy's style before. And I would say like Harold and Maude does have like on your first viewing noticeable like fun editing choices. So like seeing him do a film that maybe he's taking more of a subtle approach in it, yeah, it definitely deserves a second look.
For reference, Harold and Maude came out in 1971. I think that's the first one I recognize. He also did The Landlord in 1970.
Yeah.
These are his directorial movies. I have seen The Last Detail poster before, because I think it came out from like Powerhouse Indicator.
Yeah, with Jack Nicholson.
But I don't know if I've seen a lot of this. Like, I've heard of Being There because of you, but I was interested. 8 Million Ways to Die. It's an American neo-noir crime thriller starring Jeff Bridges, Rosanna Arquette, Andy Garcia, and it was his final film. That sounds kind of fun. Have you seen that one?
I haven't. I think, and it intrigues me because I do want to see his 80s stuff. I've primarily seen his first Big Seven. I think there's one in there I haven't seen, which was the biopic for Woody Guthrie. But his final two films I haven't seen, and I'm very curious. And I guess the interesting note on Hal Ashby, just because he's not, I do believe he's not as well known as he should be, and it's sort of because he. I think fell off a cliff is a poor choice of words, but he sort of did in a sense. That, he was really prolific within a very distinct portion of time. And then, the 80s occurred where he had two films that, failed back to back, or they weren't successful is a better way to do it. I don't know how far they failed, but they weren't as successful as he liked. And then he unfortunately died of cancer by the end of the decade. And so I think that's sort of, and he was only 59, I believe, which, so he probably could have done more films at this point. So really, most of his career is time capsuled in those 7 big films he did in the 70s. But yeah, that's the biggest thing about him is I do think that there is a resurgence of people learning about him because he's definitely an excellent director and with the impact that he made in the films that he made. But yeah, I could see where a lot of people sort of fly over him.
There's some like interesting stuff in this movie that I want to talk about, and I'm going to make sure we talk about, but it includes like this drop that you hear. There's a lot of weird elements. There's a lot of weird social elements to this movie that I was straight up not expecting. And you kind of start mentioning it here when we get into the good. Before we get into it, I'm going to finish my thought. Because obviously, Spaghetti, you love this movie. You're bringing it to the table. You're the one leading this discussion, basically. I'll just say I hate watching a movie right before the podcast. And I try not to do it because I always have a very reactionary opinion at first, good or bad. It's always reactionary, and I haven't had time to sit with it. I think it was a very interesting film, and I would give it. I'll throw my recommendation here. I would recommend it because I want to rewatch it now, and I immediately wanted to rewatch it, but I didn't have time. Like I was right against the fucking wire today. So yeah, let's talk about the good and the bad.
Yeah, I will say this about, your comment right there. I think it's almost sort of perfect that you watched it this way, to be honest. Because I think the film does thrive on reactionary viewings. I think that's sort of the, like I said earlier, that's the intent, is to sort of go into it, not have any expectations, and get one perception of it. And then as you learn more about it, which, through our discussion today, people are like, oh, that's interesting. And then they'll go back and watch it and they'll get a whole different interpretation the second round. So it almost, in a weird way, it might almost be meant to be that you sort of watched it, right in a somewhat rushed fashion. So
I'm glad it works.
Yeah.
The good, I see here you put down a perfect 7. In the 1970s, he directed 7 consecutive films that are considered classics of the era. This includes The Landlord. It caught my eye, and why I brought up the social issues in this movie is just like, I didn't even read it, but I just was reading the language, the wording that is in this paragraph.
Yeah.
The Landlord, 1970s. Elgar Enders, Beau Bridges, a privileged 29-year-old white man, buys a tenement building in a black neighborhood in Park Slope. His original plan is to evict the residents to build a psychedelic bachelor pad. But he eventually befriends them and rebels against his wealthy WASP upbringing. Like, that sounds interesting, right? Does that not sound interesting, Adam?
Yeah, I love the, I don't know, I wouldn't call it socialist, but like the more counterculture elements in there that this guy uses.
Yeah, I will say...
You wouldn't expect it.
I will say, I think out of all the Ashby films... Now, granted, I probably need to rewatch some of them, but I think Landlord might be my second favorite, to be honest. It's the most like being there, and we can, connect with more of that later, but The Landlord is... it has a lot of the same kind of, abstract cuts in it, and then it also plays into like the... I guess with the main character, Elgar Enders, he's not really malicious. I know that the paragraph might make him sound a little bit like he wants to evict the people, but really the film was about he's rich and bored, and he's 29, and he doesn't really like his parents the most and his family because they are snobby wasp types. And he's like, all right, I'm just gonna buy this house or this apartment building. And you know, he gets a good deal on an apartment building downtown, rough part of the city. And you know, he goes in there, and it's a little bit of a comedy of errors, just sort of like Being There, where, you know, he's in there and all these people are like, what the hell are you down here? Like, you know, because he sticks out like a sore thumb. But then he starts to get to know the people, and you know, and being their landlord, they all have, you know, different complaints about it. Starts with like maybe little utility issues, but then it like spans the bigger things, and he connects with them. So it has that same kind of energy as Being There, where, you know, Chance is wandering around and affecting the people around
Down to
him.
earth.
Yeah.
Down to earth is the phrase that comes to mind, especially with Being There. Like, it's all about literally down to earth, talking about roots and like gardening.
Yeah. Yep.
I wanted to say this next one here for Adam, because he can probably give some personal thoughts on it, but read me a bit about Harold and Maude, will you?
Yeah, Harold and Maude, 1971. Harold Chasen, played by Bud Cort, a death-obsessed young man, stages elaborate fake suicides to get attention from his detached, wealthy mother. And then he eventually forms a deep romantic bond with Maude, played by Ruth Gordon, a 79-year-old free spirit and a Holocaust survivor who teaches him to embrace life fully. This is probably the cult fan favorite out of Ashby's films. Many newer film fans who are diving into more expansive and unique cinema tend to come across this film first. Its charming position has allowed it to be spread through fandom word of mouth. And yeah, that's how I saw it. It wasn't on a list or anything. Like I said, my wife, it's like her favorite film. And a lot, I don't know, yeah, it's just a lot different in like the whole style that it's filmed in. There's a lot more. Would you call them vignettes? I don't know. Where like the camera is direct, like people are sitting right in front of the camera, looking at it, talking to the camera as if they're being interviewed at certain times. And I know we mentioned earlier maybe how Ashby doesn't have a signature look because he would adapt his style for each film that he was working on. And that's something I noticed in Being There, because I was like, oh wow, this is by the Harold and Maude guy, but it doesn't look like Harold and Maude. Like, they're very two distinct films. And I don't know, Harold and Maude is definitely like much more like an ode to hippies. Like the soundtrack itself, the soundtrack is by Cat Stevens. And, you know, like there's just a lot more, I don't know what you would call them, caricatures of certain like people in society, like cops and religious figures and all that.
Did Bud Cort recently pass away? I remember he was in the news recently. Do you remember, Spaghetti?
Yeah, he died about a few weeks ago. During when like 5 people died. Yeah, he was one of them.
I still haven't seen this movie, but it is like a Criterion, classic, like a gem. I remember, your wife owned, I think, the Blu-ray or the DVD or something. And I was like, dude, I think that's rare or something. Or I was like, it's a good copy. I don't remember at the time.
Yeah, she has like the I think that's the Criterion collector's set or edition. It has a nice box. It's a nice Blu-ray box.
Yeah,
this is also a Criterion Blu-ray.
Yeah, a chunk of them are, or I think at least 3 are. Yeah, I sort of love my favorite thing about Harold and Maude is the suicide vignettes. That's just and Hal Ashby, he does a real excellent job of blending drama and comedy, and sometimes the humanity of his comedy is very interesting, because he gets away with a lot of stuff that, if it was more slapsticky, he couldn't get away with. And I think like the suicide notations in Harold and Maude is definitely something that he's able to get away with it because he does it in a certain fashion. So that's sort of my favorite thing that I remember from that movie is how they do that. So yeah.
I need to check it out. It's on the list now for sure.
Yeah.
Now that I know who he is. Breaking news, folks. Breaking news. Vinegar Syndrome is putting out a Lucio Fulci's Presents movie, Massacre. So that's cool. The Forgotten Jolly Volume 9 looks pretty sick. There's an alternate cover for Massacre. They got 2 slip covers. Another Reviver. That's all I'm interested in, folks. But yeah, not a bad lineup. I love Fulci, and all his Presents lines are cool. His name is only attached in name, but those are like some fun movies. Do you have anything to say about the lineup, Spaghetti, before you hold your peace forever?
I'm just not looking at it. Just seeing if anything pops up. I think I knew that Office Killer was coming out. It looks interesting. Reviver 2. I don't know what that is. That will be some unknown. Badge 373. Yeah, it looks pretty much
Dennis
like
Hopper?
That's Robert Duvall.
No, it's Robert Duvall. Damn.
And then anything interesting in the... Oh, Art Spiegelman. There you go.
Sorry, this is some quick nerd shit, Adam.
Yeah.
This is what I did for 5 years.
In the partner labels, there's Art Spiegelman, which I like Art Spiegelman a lot. Oh, shoot.
I didn't look.
That thing is...
I didn't look.
There's only 4 copies left.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting enough. As I get farther away from the obsessive collecting of Blu-rays, and I kind of look back more fondly on it, and I like engaging with it a little bit more. But Vinegar Syndrome, folks, check it out. Now, you know what isn't collecting Vinegar Syndrome? This film. Being there, because it was scanned, and it's in really good high quality. Also, The Last Detail that we were talking about, Powerhouse Indicator having put out. We're going to kind of jet through some of these now so we can get into the movie, but The Last Detail, it's about Billy Badass Badusky, played by Jack Nicholson, and his friend Richard Mulhall, played by Otis Young. They're assigned to escort a young sailor, Larry Meadows, to Portsmouth Naval Prison in Maine. Pitying the naive 18-year-old Meadows, Badusky and Mule decide to show him a final good time. Along the way, leading up to a road trip filled with drinking, brawling, and visit to a brothel. Again, I don't know, that's a pretty good, concept. I like that. Shampoo. Go ahead and read me on Shampoo, Spaghetti.
Yep. Let's see here. And Shampoo, by the way, that's another criterion. Over a single 24-hour period, George Roundy, who's Warren Beatty, a charismatic Beverly Hills hairdresser, juggles his various affairs with clients and former lovers while attempting to secure funding for his own salon. And then for context, the film is set on the election eve of 1968, the night Richard Nixon was elected president. Uses George's...
Yeah, I was thinking.
Yeah, George's chaotic personal life as a metaphor for the moral confusion and end-of-era vibe of the 60s.
Yeah, it's almost like we're living through a very crazy political era now. I don't know if I'd compare it to the 60s or whatever, but it's always interesting that things point back to the 60s. I don't even watch movies about the 60s that much anymore, so it's I'm so removed from the era, but crazy time too. End of an era.
Yeah, it's very much I do hope the one problem with modern era film is the whole streaming aspect hopped in there. I won't get on a high horse about that, but what that is there's not nearly as many films being put out in theaters, and so I wish that we reenacted a new Hollywood era because the 70s was amazing for that. But I think within the streaming climate today, I don't know if it would be able to thrive again. But if things were the same, I do see that we could potentially have that kind of setup going. But
and that's what Hal Ashby's doing is he's reacting to the 60s throughout all these movies. Bound for Glory, 1976. Read me a bit about that one, Adam.
Yeah, Bound for Bound for Glory. It was set during the Great Depression. The film is a sprawling biographical drama about the early life of legendary folk singer Woody Guthrie. It captures his evolution from a wandering sign painter to a voice of the people, performing for migrant workers and union organizers. I haven't seen this, but I don't know. Now it makes sense why there was this musical tour of a bunch of like folk bands a few years ago called Bound for Glory. This train's Bound for Glory. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's where they're getting it from. Are you a big Woody Guthrie fan, Dan?
No, I've heard the name, but he's classic country, right? So I should, but no, I haven't. I've been getting really into some of like at least some of the 80s country. That's kind of like pretty good.
That's Woody Guthrie, just 1980s country. No.
I'm going to Lukenbach, Texas, dude. That's where I'm headed.
With Waylon and Willie Texas. And the boys?
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I don't know. Check it out. I wanted to check out Woody. Maybe that'll help me learn about Woody Guthrie.
He's good,
Coming Home, 1978.
That whole era of folk singers. I mean, it's where you get a lot of class. You get like what was that? Pete Seeger. That's then that's the extent of names I can pull off the top of my head about folk singers.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
This is where I don't know much about folk. Sorry folks.
Folk you.
Yeah. It all like if you watch that what was the Timothy Chalamet Bob Dylan movie that came out like last year?
Oh God.
they bring all those people back again. But yeah, like Woody Guthrie.
So he's like he's a contemporary of Bob Dylan.
A little bit earlier than Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Bob Dylan's because in that movie Bob Dylan, his character is influenced by all those people who paved the way before.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's like the muddy waters of poor white guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's folky, so it's like this land is your land.
Yeah,
well, that's Pete Seeger, right? Yeah.
No, yeah, I think it's.
That's Woody Guthrie.
This land is your land.
I know the song.
Copyright free song.
Yeah.
You would think the song and trailer isn't copyright free. We're going to struck for that, but it's a good song. Coming Home, 1978. Sally Hyde, Jane Fonda, wife of a deployed Marine captain, begins volunteering at a local VA hospital. There she reconnects with Luke Martin, played by John Voight, former high school classmate who has returned from the war as a paraplegic. That's why it's called Coming Home. He's like, I'm coming home. I don't got no legs. Jane Fonda and John Voight won Best Actress and Actor Oscars, as well as winning the Best Original Screenplay. Coming Home was also nominated for multiple other Oscars, including Best Picture, but ultimately lost it to The Deer Hunter, another classic movie I still haven't seen. It's the reason this podcast exists, folks. And I want to talk about this end of an era comes up with this movie and Hal Ashby stuff a lot. What we're doing here, this podcast, we're at the end of the era. Like, no one's even listening anymore. AI might be listening to us more than real people. So, yeah, I can connect with that. But I haven't seen The Deer Hunter. Have you guys seen that one? Good movie? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, they're both great. This was sort of the battle of the Vietnam movies, and Deer Hunter ultimately won out, but Coming Home won all the actor and actress awards. It's an interesting film. It's sort of set up to be Ashby's like award-winning darling kind of thing. It was very much I don't want to say Oscar bait, but it was sort of made for that.
I was thinking it's like a tearjerker. I'm just picturing like an SNL skit. He comes in, he's like, I don't have any legs. She's like, I'll help you with your legs.
Yeah, it's a love triangle. So it's like Jane Fonda is like she's not the bored housewife type, but she definitely is in a marriage with Bruce Dern, who is a Marine captain that is very much career focused. And then he goes away, and then she wants to help out what she can, and then she volunteers at the VA hospital, meets John Voight, and then he's the amputee, and they remember each other from high school, and then they sort of fall for each other, and that creates a whole mess of a love triangle when Bruce Dern comes back. That's basically the movie. But yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we get to Being There.
Yep.
The movie we're talking about today, folks. I do want to quickly go over the release date information. This was released, I guess, at a New York City premiere, December 20th, 1979. But it had a wide release, I think, February 8th, 1980. So February 1980, folks. What was in the box office around that time? I didn't have time to do super good anything on this, so we're just gonna get some idea. Maybe. I don't. We've never gone back this far. It's a little confusing, but we had for February 8th, we had also Hero at Large. Kramer vs. Kramer was it December 9th? I don't even understand this list, folks. Guyana Cult of the Damned, Spaghetti.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's giving me domestic box office of stuff that came out in January.
Yeah, it's that weird flyover territory part of the year.
I guess so. Jaws 2.
Yeah, probably one of the biggest ones is Kramer versus Kramer. It's the one that slugged it out with Being There over the Oscars. And Kramer versus Kramer ultimately won Best Picture. And then Dustin Hoffman won over Peter Sellers, which is sort of... I mean, I can't really fault Kramer vs. Kramer. It's a good movie, but that's one of the big things. And then I also found Being There was going up against American Gigolo with Richard Gere. And then The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog, came out. Both those came out on February 1st, so they were still hanging out in the theater.
Okay, so you had actually collected some information on this where I had not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the actual week of February 8th, a whole lot of stuff that I didn't really know came out. But yeah, it was American Gigolo and Fog was still hanging out in Kramer vs. Kramer.
I haven't seen any of these movies. It's just crazy. Kramer versus Kramer. There's like a video game, I think, of Kramer versus Kramer.
That's a movie about divorce, so that'd be an interesting video game.
I guess so. It's like The Last Married Couple in America. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen any of that stuff. I wanted to just like quickly mention it, but yeah. We can kind of, I guess you took some notes here, so we'll go over some of them real quick. We'll fly over them here. Damn, you did a lot of work, homie. I didn't even realize. This was based on Being There, a novel by Jerzy Kosinski, author of The Painted Birds and Steps, winner of the National Book Award. It's set in America. Story concerns Chance, a simple gardener who unwittingly becomes a much sought-after political pundit and commentator on the very vagaries of the modern world. I accidentally read the fucking the plot synopsis for the book instead of the movie after I'd watched the movie, and I was so confused. And I was like, I don't know how dissimilar these are, but I was like, it's not even mentioning the fact he walks on water at the end. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the book, Spaghetti?
Yeah. So my background with this film is it's one that I really appreciate for where it landed in my life. When I was in school, it was one of my film classes I took, and one of them was it was like adaptations of the book versus the film. I forget the actual name of the class, but that's what we were doing. We were reading the book, and then we were watching the movie, and then we were deciphering how they were different. And then Being There was one of the books that we covered in that class, and there are so much interesting differences between the two that I just sort of, I fell into it. Basically, it's one that I haven't read the book for about 20 years. I think this is probably like 2007 when I was in this class, so I'm very rusty on the book, but I just remember just loving every bit of the differences. I I like the movie a lot better, but the book was very interesting for what it is also. And there's some interesting parallels that work in the book that can't work in the film. And so that's why they are, at their core, vastly different.
Yeah, I could see it. I don't know. This was a weird movie. I'm still digesting. But the cinematography I'm not digesting anymore is by Caleb Deschanel, which you hear that name and you're like, Zoe? We just talked about her on the Bully episode. But it is indeed her dad. So there you go. He looks like Zoe Deschanel. That's pretty cool. What else did Caleb Deschanel direct as cinematographer or as cinematographer? Oh, I was about to say he directed 3 episodes of Twin Peaks. Is that true or is this the cinematographer, right? No, as director. He did Realization Time, which is the 7th episode of the first season.
He did
what happens here? Harry Truman investigates a murder in a small town. Ben Horn schemes to burn down the town's sawmill.
He filmed The Passion of the Christ. Yeah, I'm looking at his stuff.
Is that true?
And then he did National Treasure.
Wow.
With Nick Cage. Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of trash because cinema just became trash after a while. So he did
The
Jack
Right
Reacher
Stuff,
and
which
shit.
that's great movie.
Ooh, The Right Stuff. Excellent movie. Sorry I had to cut out there for a second, guys. I had a fucking bee in my room. No. Oh, shit. I got a bee. God, there's a fucking bee in here. Do we have fly swatter? Yeah. And now it's alive somewhere. Well, I whacked it out of the sky, but I didn't see where it landed.
The fuck? This is what happens, folks. It's fucking March. It's already summer in Arizona. Yeah, I don't know. Caleb Deschanel, shout out. I like your stuff. You got the right stuff. I didn't know there's a movie that was called More American Graffiti. That's kind of funny. And it's kind of funny that he worked on THX 1138 additional photography. Still haven't seen that. That'd be a great one for the podcast. All right, let's fucking move on. Let's move the fuck on. Oh wait, you have some notes. I'm not gonna move past those. Deschanel avoided the typical satirical look. Instead, they used a naturalistic, almost religious lighting style to elevate the character of Chance. He's a 6-time Academy Award nominee known for his ability to capture light and nature with poetic realism. Deschanel was responsible for the film's iconic, ambiguous final shot. Yeah, cool. He used the submerged plexiglass platform to make sailors appear to walk across a lake. Spoilers, a feat accomplished without modern CGI. I thought he did that. I was like, maybe that's why I know you do that, is because he did it. Father Zoe Deschanel, New Girl. Is that what she's known for now? Yeah. 500 Days of Summer, guys. Emily Deschanel. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, sister Bones. Anyway, this is edited by Don Zimmerman. So this is obviously interesting, right? Because he's an editor himself. So he hires an editor, Don Zimmerman. Passed away recently, 2025, RIP. So you're saying Zimmerman entered the industry after serving in Vietnam and met Ashby as Ashby was transitioning from editor to director. As Norman Jewison trusted Ashby and gave him more creative advances, the more they collaborated. Ashby did the same with Zimmerman. Zimmerman joined as second assistant director on Ashby's debut, The Landlord. And then he filled a vacancy created by Ashby's own assistant, moved up to lead editor, served as assistant roles on Hot Harold and Maude, Shampoo, Bound for Glory. We talked about Ashby promoted Zimmerman to lead editor on Coming Home. This was Zimmerman's first solo credit and earned him Academy Award nomination for editing. And then being there in 1979.
Yeah.
So this is one of the boys. That's why I hired him.
Ashby has a theme with that, where he has like a core friend group of people that he trusts. Because I think Deschanel also filmed. Well, let me see. But I remember reading something about he has a core group of people that sort of hang around him. I don't think Deschanel did another Ashby film, but there was a core group of people.
Yeah, I mean, we find that on the podcast now that we discuss stuff like this.
Yeah.
It's just that's always the case. Is there's always a group of people they surround themselves with. You don't know it if you don't look into it, but it's always there. They always own a production company. The director usually does and produces himself. Music composed by Johnny Mandel, another recent passed away, 2020, R.I.P. To match the simple, blank slate nature of Peter Sellers' character, Mandel's score was notably sparse and elegant. One of the film's most famous musical moments, the disco jazz version of Also Sprach Zarathustra by Richard Strauss, was actually arranged by Emir Deodato, not Mandel. Mandel focused on the more delicate emotional cues. Ashby chose Deodato's pre-existing hit because its sophisticated yet clueless energy perfectly matched Chance's character. His version of Also Sprach Zarathustra won the 1974 Grammy for Best Pop Instrumental Performance and reached number 2 at the Billboard 100. I don't know. So that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff right there, Johnny Mandel. He's just staring at me in his Wikipedia photo if you go there. He worked with Peggy Lee, which, shout out, there's now 2 references to Beach Bum so far I can think of on this episode. I don't know, he did a lot of stuff. Check it out. He did some MASH. We love MASH.
Yeah, and then also about the Deodato song. I always like that part in the film, and because it's like, it obviously people know that song from 2001: A Space Odyssey, basically. But I always see it like it comes in a certain scene within the movie where it's like Chance is going out on his Odyssey, for better or worse. So it's
this is the reason I can't sample in the podcast without getting caught.
One of my.
It's good. It's a really good track. I love it. Yeah. Produced by Andrew Bronsberg. Sorry, Andrew. We're moving on this week. Production companies: Lorimar Productions. Distributed by United Artists. I'll just say United Artists is awesome. I mean, you can look into them. We'll talk about them more for sure soon. United Artists fucking rocks. It was literally a group of like people who are concerned about making like good films, like legitimately artistic films. And we kind of have that energy with like Neon and like maybe A24 to an extent, but yeah, shout out United Artists. We may be talking about a movie very linked to that soon. This was shot on 35mm negative, processed at Metrocolor Labs. So obviously, 1979, 1978, you're shooting on film. Use Panavision Panaflex, very common for the era. Panavision Ultra Speed MK2 lenses. Cinematographer Caleb Deschanel famously limited himself to almost exclusively 40mm and 75mm lenses to mimic the simpleton brain of Chance. And this is where we can finally kind of get into it. We're going to skip the rest of it. It went, as a film prints. Come on, it came out via film prints, photochemical editing. It was insane. You had a wizard-looking guy doing all this. Shooting dates. Principal photography, 1979 in January to 1979 in April. So about 3 to 4 months, roughly. Something like that. Maybe 2 to 3 months. Pretty average, pretty standard.
It's not a very stunt-driven movie.
And then,
so I can see it's a lot of internal shots of people sitting and talking. So,
and then we have the filming locations. Go ahead and read me a bit about those filming locations, Adam.
Yeah, this was filmed. So places we got the Rand Mansion. I'm like,
if you can,
half afraid for my life right now.
Adam's on location.
The Rand Mansion. That's the sprawling estate of Benjamin Rand. And yeah, that was filmed at the Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina, the largest private home in the U.S. It is a large-ass home.
Wow.
The Washington, D.C. exteriors, key scenes of Chance wandering the city were shot on location, including 937 M Street Northwest, the exterior of the old man's house.
Wow.
And various spots around the National Mall. Yeah.
You do see the National Mall. Yeah.
And for interior sets, many of the mansion's interiors and other DC locations were filmed at the Craven Estate and at the Menyes Mansion in Pasadena, California.
So this is shot in D.C. and California. In North Carolina, I guess. Okay. It just gives you an idea. Like, did you guys ever have like a sense of place in this movie? I guess, yeah, we're in Washington. He's like, I've lived in Washington my whole life.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of this film is it's a lot of it's interior shots, and so that could have been, that could have been
he's just like sitting in
anywhere.
rooms.
I actually had to be reminded that it was DC because I think in the book it's New York, and it was moved specifically for the film to DC.
Well, it's an interesting location for that shot they do, so I respect it. Aspect ratio 1:85:1. Boring as shit. Fuck you.
No.
Runtime. The official runtime is 130 minutes. 2 hours and 10 minutes. This is kind of a long one. This is a long movie. Does it feel its length?
My answer to that question would be yes.
I think for a good chunk of people, probably, for sure, feels his length. I mean, my eyes have sort of glazed over at this point because I've seen it multiple times. That I've sort of like hyper focused on every scene that I don't notice it as much, but I can definitely see it's a very slow moving film, and so yeah, I could see for sure some people feel it.
And then budget $7 million. Yeah, that's decent. Not bad for 1979. Opened in a few theaters, and I don't know. It grossed approximately. Do you think this made its budget back? Does it have those numbers immediately? Yeah, it made $30.2 million. So this thing was This thing made buco bucks, which is crazy, right? Just think about that. This thing fucking made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Did you guys see
Me
Being
and my
there?
buddies are gonna go see
What
Being
the
there
fuck?
this weekend.
That's crazy. Yeah, we'll drink a couple brewskis. We're gonna see the new Hal Ashby. We loved Harold and Maude. I don't know. Let's cross into the spoiler zone here, folks. I think it's clear where we all sit right now. Let's just talk about the movie, I guess. I don't know. Not much focus or structure this week, and I'm gonna let Spaghetti kind of drive this thing. So go ahead and start driving, Spaghetti. How do you want to start off talking about
like the themes and concepts?
Being there?
Well, like I said, it's very much a film that is based on interpretive value. It's the core aspect of the book, and it's the core aspect of the film. And with that, I think it's important. It's an important film to do what you guys did, in the sense that you have no preconceived notions of what the film's about. You just sort of hop into it and you take the film as it is. I've read quite a few Letterboxd reviews, and I've even seen like people who hate the movie. And it's interesting to me, and it's fine. That's totally their valid interpretation that they hate the movie. But it's very unique in the sense that people get out of the movie what they want to put into it. And so it's one of the things that I sort of want to sort of speak to, is like the little clues that you notice the more times that you watch it. Little scavenger hunt things pop up. But then also, like we said, this is the first thing that allowed me to sort of look at this film in this light, was the fact that, I actually had to do this as a class assignment in college. I had to read the book and pragmatically decipher between the book and the film. And that sort of set me on this own path of looking at it in a different light in general. But yeah, it thrives on interpretive value, so much that the practice of interpretation actually outweighs the surface level plot. It is actually noticed that those who don't engage with the film or are dissatisfied with it, like people who give it a low rating on Letterboxd, usually are also the type who doesn't extend their perception past the first layer. That's sort of a harsh statement, to be honest, because I'm going to amend that a little bit, that I think it's also situational. So, there are people who just watch narrative films, but then there's people that, what frame of mind are they in when they go and watch this movie? So I'll definitely add that in there. The interesting element about this perception, though, is that it is uniquely true to that person. As the ironic point of the film in general is that your perception is your own, and essentially it is correct that oneself. It is correct to that oneself for that direct viewing. It is also this fact that the act of watching being there on multiple occasions comes with multiple contexts to decipher. Life is but a state of mind, as the film says, and there is an abundance of clues and theories within the film. So that's just the little intro statement that I put here. But going back to the sort of the gateway of that was I put a review of the book versus the film. That's sort of the opening door of all this. So Kosinski, Jerzy Kosinski, uniquely wrote the original book, as well as he wrote in quotations the script for the film. So we can apply Kosinski's writing of the screenplay with some slight grain of salt, as any screenplay is malleable in the actual filming process. And then, Ashby, as we said before, believed quite a bit in the loose interpretation of the script to go by more and more of the film is shot, and he feels things out organically. So that's where it's very interesting that Kosinski's book is actually very much a doom and gloom setting, versus being there the film is more fabulistic and positive. So yeah, Kosinski's book is very much a dark satire on the death of language and imagination. It argues that television destroys the secondary imagination, leaving humans as hollow vessels who can only repeat what they've seen on screen. So the whole argument of the book is essentially we have lost the ability to free think because we are addicted to visual images. And there's some interesting parallels with the book with you could even place it with the social media world of today. That'd be an interesting argument to dive into, to be honest, with more research and things of that notation. But that was the core goal of the book, was we are so addicted to watching television that we don't even have an imagination anymore. The ironic twist is that with this concept, you cannot adequately transfer that to film with the same effect. A large part of the story in the book itself is about the hollow nature of television as whole in terms of the actuality of watching it, regardless of context. But the film, on the other hand, is the act of watching a visual image. And so you can't demonize the act of watching a physical image in that same sense. So that's why the film turned more into media persuasion. And so
now Gene starts with
read. 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 Read.
That's Werner Herzog's advice.
Yeah. And so it does lead towards a political narrative, but once again, it leans on the void of actual imagination and the application of replication. That's the book. The film, once again, leans more into the lighthearted fable than its darker novel origin story. Chance in the original book is given more internal dialogue and is simply ignorant to the outside world due to isolation. It's more of the allegory of the cave.
I don't know.
Kind of scenario.
I don't think I'd even like that though. I think that's a good change. I don't think we should be inside of his head.
Yeah, exactly. I agree as well. But yeah, the book has a lot of internal dialogue. But in the film, Chance is a blank state, and he's enamored by everything he sees. The reason is because the film's main goal is the element of perception versus the destruction of the imagination. It is not necessarily about the destruction of perception either, rather the inclination of how people tend to interpret things. Chance often becomes the mirror of the person he is interacting with others getting interpretation from him.
So let's explain
of what
that,
they're
right? So like what happens in the movie? He's like so like I read the book one. Like if you read the book synopsis, it's like more clear. He says the intellectually handicapped Chance works as a gardener for the old man, a retired senior lawyer. Chance's mother, also intellectually handicapped, died in childbirth. His father is unknown. He's lived in the old man's house all of his life, never leaving the house and garden. All his needs, food, presumably laundry, clothing, are met by the old man via servants. His only personal contact was with the servant tasked with servicing his needs. Now, in the movie version, I guess it's basically the same. The movie opens, it's just so strange, right? You memed the opening title sequence to it. But it's he's watching TV. Dude loves watching. I like to watch. That's one of the taglines. Also one of my favorite adult pornographic films. I don't the point of the movie is like, he gets thrust into the world. He gets his leg knocked by a limo driven by Shirley MacLaine in a weird role. Because I was like, I've never in my life seen Shirley MacLaine be portrayed as like sexual.
Oh, and it works. Let's just go ahead and say that up top.
Yeah. It was interesting. But like the thrust of the movie is everyone around him, and I think it's interesting you brought it to the table and why you'd want to discuss it is like, I guess you're saying it's all about perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the movie, the way they try to get that across is like, well, how does everyone react to things that this very simple-minded person says? Because he's a gardener, he doesn't know anything. His like language is even very limited. He's like, anything. He's just like,
yes. There will be growth in the spring. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Like, he doesn't say much. And when people introduce him to people, he's like, I remember I looked up the phrase earlier because it's so ridiculous. Like, he doesn't banter around with words. I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But he doesn't try to argue or anything. He's chill. And I guess what I'm saying, Spaghetti, is when I was watching this movie, I thought about you and how you try to approach life.
Yeah. Yeah. If the roots are firm, then they will grow again. Or I butchered that. Yeah, I do like that. I mean, obviously, I like that they got rid of the internal monologue. From what I remember myself, I know I put this in there written down, but the book is a lot darker. It's a lot more political oriented. But then the film, it's far more about the perception. Yes, there is a theme of politics and things of that nature because it's the catalyst for the narrative to portion. But I honestly think that the political element is just sort of a backdrop because you can choose to have that to be the major part of the story or not. It's ultimately about, what you get out of Chance directly. And so, yeah, I that is a main reason why I champion this film because I'm a strong believer of, I like a lot of movies from where they stand within their own purpose, right? I know there's a lot of people out there that only like specific genres or whatever, and that's fine. That's their thing.
Right? They're not willing to meet a movie halfway.
Yeah. And I think being there is sort of the champion of that spirit of you get out of it what you're supposed to get out of it, but that's also based upon you. And I think that, I think a lot of people who don't like certain genres, obviously there could be like, a time and place where they weren't in the right setting when they watched it or just doesn't interest them. That's fine. But yeah, I always try to meet that film, from where it stands. What is its intent? And so being there sort of becomes the film that champions that mentality. So I think that's why I'm so connected with it.
And on the show here, we're known for we barely review these things. We just ritualize them, put them on a pedestal, and say, "Look at this," in spirit with the show. And what I meant by my comment is, you're very down to earth, Spaghetti, and everything in this movie and what he described it just reminded me of your worldview on a lot of things.
Oh yeah, I just I take it as
it's another cycle. It's another cycle as it was doing things. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of comforting when live in a world that you check Twitter right now and everyone's like, you're like, no, it's fine.
Yeah, I think what goes in my favor, I won't get too much into it, but I've been through some crazy life events already. And so with that, I don't really get all razzled up by some things. I mean, I'm cognizant to the outside world and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm just like, I've almost died and came back to life pretty much. So it's like, all right, it's a grain of salt. It's fine. Things will happen. Things won't happen. So yeah, that's sort of where I stand.
This movie, the social element I wanted to kind of talk about too, because that smacked me sideways. I was like, I think I wanted to revisit the opening because I was sleepy watching it this morning. But doesn't the maid walk up to him and say some fucked up shit? I was like, doesn't that happen? Am I wrong? It's like, you're going to be alone forever, you piece of shit. I'm like, what the hell's happening?
Yeah, she's tired. She's dealt with Chase. And I honestly think, because there's a big theme with the, the racial element, right? And the class system. I sort of apply that backdrop the same as the political narrative. It's there if you choose to make that the main point of the film. It's definitely a theme within the film. It's sort of the
main part of your view.
Yeah, it all correlates with your view of if that's the road you want to go down. It's very interesting in that sense because they really make a grab bag of themes that you could choose to base the film off of. But yeah, it goes back to Hal Ashby is very passionate about the class system and the 60s and 70s position of race economics. And I do love that being there looks like the whitest person's movie ever, but it's got a little bit of street cred to it.
You guys watched to the end credits, right? You watched the credit scene, bloopers.
Yeah.
I was laughing my ass. I was like, he said, you drive turkey, and if you don't get out of here, I'm gonna you get out of here. I'm gonna cut your white ass. We're just laughing.
He said, "Now get this, honky. You go tell Raphael that I ain't no jive from no Western Union messenger." Yeah.
Yeah. I do love the Raphael angle. I think it's hilarious. It's so it's bad, but it's so hilarious. The
first black person he sees, he's like, "Do you know Raphael?"
Yeah. And then he asks that other lady for his lunch. And that's sort of the innocence of Chance where, other people would say, "Man, that's racist as hell." But Chance, he doesn't know any better. He's just
my God, it almost ties into the Tourette's guy we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's just he goes up to that lady and he's in front of he's in the seedy part of whatever in front of a porno theater, I think. And he's like, "Can I get some lunch?" And the lady's like, "Who the hell are you?" And so I think that's a humorous note on that. And then
I didn't even realize that until just now. That is funny.
Yeah, and then I love that it's sort of a shot heard around the world that when Chance goes out into the outside world and they're doing the song and everything, spray painted on the wall is America ain't shit because the white man's got a God complex. And so that's put up there on the wall. And so I like how this film has a little bit of that gangster kind of mentality to it. It has a little bit of street cred to it. And it's playing...
what if he had fallen into a gang instead?
Yeah, it'd be he just follows whoever. Yeah,
I want to shout out. when he does encounter the gang, he tries to turn them off with his remote because it's only like it's like this is how I got rid of things that.
Yeah, and then I just love the whole narrative with Raphael, and he doesn't know any better. It's sort of the brilliance of the film. So yeah.
There's a lot to talk about with this one. So first theme, book versus film. I'm leaning towards the film and how the film captures the perception stuff because there's so many things we can cover already.
Yeah. The next thing I was connected with a little excerpt that I guess shameless plug to my own letterbox, but one of the thoughts that I put in my prior review on this sort of goes into the second theme, which is it's also a carryover of the first theme as well, because but it's the open-ended interpretations. And so my prior review, I wrote this down. I wanted to sort of reread it as, is the film about political and economic stances? Is the film about racial inequality? Is the film about sexual repression? Is the film about the second coming of Christ? Is the film about commercialism? Is the film about reaching enlightenment? Is the film simply about guessing what it's really about, and the viewer is both exhilarated and drained at the end of it, with Peter Sellers sitting there at the credits laughing at us? The answer to everything above is not simply yes or no, but sure, for all intents and purposes. Meanings come by chance, and it's not the film's job to tell you how to interpret it. It's your job as the viewer. And then I just put the film plays a wonderful game in terms of leading the viewer on just enough for them to validate some central meaning.
So I want to talk about just really quickly because it's coming up in my brain. I'll forget otherwise. There's a scene where they talk to the president, right?
Yeah.
He gets introduced to the old guy, the new old guy that he's hanging out with. He loves old guys. New old guy he's hanging out with. Introduces him to the president. They have this I don't know what the words are. They're not coming to my brain, but it's a bunch of platitudes, right? Like even what everyone's applauding chants for is like nothing. And my reaction to that was like, this is kind of weird. This doesn't even make sense. Who gives a shit? And they're talking about economics and what is this really about? And it'd be such an empty platitude today that you'd criticize, but everyone's applauding it. And even you get down to read. At one point he's like, we want to get you a book deal, and he's like, I don't read. He's like, oh, of course, no one reads.
Yeah.
He's like, we'll get you a ghostwriter, and I can't write or whatever, all this stuff, and it's intentionally trying to poke you, I think, instead, because at first I thought it was just dumb, and then I was like, no, he's intentionally making it stupid.
Yeah, it's sort of a brilliance in the stupidity of it all. It
kind of reminds me of a
platform.
Argento's The 5 Days. For some reason, that's coming to my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one where he does. It's the revolution. That's right.
It's the revolution's happening. You got these two dumb guys encountering it and just kind of going through a bunch of misadventures, helping a woman give birth and shit. And it's just their perception of the revolution that you wouldn't normally see.
Yeah. It's the most. I think I referred to that one as the most Fellini-esque Argento film. I do think
do for rewatch.
Yeah,
that's crazy. This movie's making me think of The 5 Days by Dario Argento, the movie no one knows about.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Yeah, interesting. Adam, what do you make of all this, buddy?
I guess I take this my meaning behind this film is a lot of we've been talking about perception and how chance really does serve as this mirror to other people, and it's just really fun. He'll, like you said, he'll say some inane shit just about gardening, and everyone pauses and they're like, wow, that's actually, what, a business is like a garden. And I think that, I don't know, I'm not trying to be too I'm getting too high-minded about it, but where it's what do they see here? Is this film about the second coming of Christ? I caught my eye. That's funny. I don't know. I don't know.
We talked about the Passion of the Christ already. This could be the Passion of Christ 2.
This is the prequel.
It's coming out soon, by the way. That's an actual film I'm excited to see.
Yeah, the reason, like, just tie into that is so you can go down a rabbit hole of being there interpretations on like YouTube and stuff like that, and that is one of them, especially with the walking on water aspect. That's parallel directly to Jesus.
It does feel like a troll, though. It does make you, because at the end of it, you're just like, what is even happening? What's going to happen? Because you have the weird, shadowy government stuff happening in the background.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's like there's so many different grab bags, and it's done purposely that it's like, all right, you could choose your own adventure. You know, that's the whole
choose
point
another
of the
adventure.
film. Yeah,
There's another one. They're having Shirley MacLaine's trying to have sex with him, and you have what is it, Mr. Rogers doing the Friends song or some shit in the background. I loved that. That's probably my favorite scene.
Yeah. So that segues sort of my next little theme kind of thing, and that's the visual and audio games that it plays. So that's perfect because there's an abundance of unique visual cues and being there that wonderfully play out in each scene. This connects back with Ashby's excellence in editing and his meticulous planning of each frame applied through a distinct function. So that's I honestly think that if Ashby was not an editor first and a director second, this film would not have the same impact, because it's sort of brilliant in how there's so many moving functions in each scene. And to your credit, what you brought up is one of the big major themes is that the television, it sort of acts as a narrator sometimes of what the scene is about. It acts like a internal monologue of somebody in the scene. It does a variety of things, but regardless, it's that fourth wall that's connected with the scene as the actors are doing their thing on stage. And so the Mr. Rogers singing out Friends when Eve is trying to seduce Chance, and then the first time you notice it is like at the beginning of the movie, there's Sesame Street on in the background, and I forget the exact word for word, but like it's something about Big Bird is talking about the brevity of, something's gone or whatever, and it ties in with Louise talking about the old man dying. And then another thing that I liked was earlier on where I think it's Hollywood Squares in the background. And they're actually talking about like swimming trunks. But he says, all I can think about is trunks, and that's when Chase is loading his trunk.
Well, we love that, don't we, Adam? Like Schenectady, New York has tons of details like that.
Yeah.
And so, I just, I really think that's a brilliant, the television is its own character, and rightfully so, because that's the whole point of Chance, is he has grown up his whole life with his best friend being the television, and that's all he essentially knows. That's his outlook.
Yeah, it's very Videodrome-esque. I was expecting him to reach into the TV or the TV to reach out to him.
Yeah.
He's just like, I like to watch TV. That's all he does. He gets interviewed by the press and shit. He's just like, I just like to watch TV. You should ask other people about that. I just like to watch TV. I like how cold and detached you are with the press.
Yeah, one of the reporters just being like, we suspect that most men don't read newspapers, but this man will admit that he doesn't read newspapers. Again, it's like whatever he throws out there, people just take and they're like, oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. He's failing upwards, folks.
Yeah. Style.
Literally starts the movie with getting his leg ran over.
Yep. Then just to play on that, the next thing is... obviously there's the television doing the visual cues, but then the film is a masterclass on mise en scène, which is the fancy French term for placing on stage. It's basically, if you ever take intro to cinema or whatever, it's the first term you learn. But it's basically means everything arranged in front of the camera to create the film's visual story and mood, and including set design, lighting. It's all the above, essentially.
Well, it's like when I try to do screen caps and I'm like trying to get a good missing scene for everyone. So I'm like, this represents the movie. This represents the movie.
Yeah, and it's the visual language that communicates character, theme, and atmosphere. So it's the movie is framed in a brilliant fashion, but it's done so just like the television talking, where it pulls the audience into a vacuum. And it aids with like visual clues, once again, of projecting meanings and like what Chance does when he's conversing with other people. Chance is often centered in large rooms with items symmetrically placed around him, in a sense that everything is in its place, like he keeps on saying, and mirroring the composure of Chance holds at all times. The organization allows for specific objects to be noticed and changed when they hold meaning. And the biggest thing that changes the whole movie is flowers and plants. Because Chance is the gardener. And
the gardener.
Yeah. And so, you know, the whole point is he is growing his garden in a metaphoric sense to the people around him. And so flowers often bloom or on or near people who are inspired by Chance. While those who are unclear, like the president is a big example of this, will vaguely have some flowers in moments, but usually not at all. Like a wonderful, easy example is when Chance sees Ben Rand. And it's the second time they've met. So like they have the first dinner, but it's the morning of where, you know, Rand's talking about he got some makeup from the nurse. And then in that moment, the film visually puts a flower. It shows the act of, I think, the nurse pinning that flower on his jacket pocket. Mm-hmm. And that is almost like a visual clue of, hey, start paying attention to flowers. And so
and I just straight up didn't. So
yeah,
so
and see,
it's so obvious now.
Yeah, and once again, though, that's sort of the brilliance of watching it without any preconceived notions the first time, because then you find out, wow, there's a lot going on in this film that you sort of, if you ever do watch it again, you capture that, because majority of the flowering examples come in the form of decorative plants specifically placed near people on screen. Even with the grouping of background extras often getting their own plants as well. I tried to find some better pictures, but Google image search wasn't giving me the ones I wanted. But
yeah, you usually take them yourself, I've learned.
Yeah, there's like flowers specifically pushed on one side of the table to those Chances influencing. So if you look in the Google Docs, I got some pictures of the flowers.
Yeah, I was looking through them. That's what I was saying. It's much more obvious now. Like when you think about a movie, it's like you don't put anything. Like I always think about that. Like if something's in the shot, like it's probably in the shot for a reason. Because it's like directors and everything, it's all going to be plays or set direction, like set design. It's all intentional. So like if there's a bunch of flowers showing up, you probably should think about that.
Yeah, and then I also put here's a more clear example to show how it's articulated around certain people. There's a scene where flowers are blooming right next to Rand, who is already charmed by Chance, but not the president, who's just meeting him. And so the flowers are blatantly by one person. And the pictures I wanted to pull up, but I couldn't get, was there's like the scenes of the slow moving in the wheelchair, and there's the servants or butlers or whatever of the Rand family pushing both of them in wheelchairs, but there's specifically flowers by each of the servants also. And then probably one of the best ones is also the conversation in the elevator. There's literally just a floral bouquet next to the guy's head in the elevator.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so the whole movie plays fun games like that.
He's a cool guy. We like the elevator guy. Elevator guy liked his jokes. He's like, I can't wait for the next joke, sir.
Yeah. And so, like, if somebody is not vibing with Chase or connecting with them or anything like that, there's usually no flowers. They're not inspired by him.
They're sus, but they're sus.
Yeah. Now there's some scenes where there's not flowers because where people would argue, well, is this the rule in every scene? But it's when Chase is not Chase, he's the mirror. So I put a little picture of the scene where Ben Rand is sitting in a wheelchair and Chase is sitting there, and they're facing each other. There's purposely not flowers in that because it's really in that photo, it's Ben Rand and Ben Rand, not Ben Rand and Chance. So.
No chance.
Yeah,
no chance.
And then I think the best, sort of the funniest part is with Eve. They add an extra layer on it where there's flowers also symbolize erections, and so if you look at where he's sitting in the bed and she's coming up to him, there's a single flower. And it's right over his crotch. And so, and then after, I couldn't get a photo of this, but after they, after she jumps his bones, sort of, and, obviously he's just there like a stiff fish, the flower is knocked over, and then she tries to pick it back up and put it on the tray again. So there's a whole lot of symbolism with placement, but yeah, and I believe also there's a lot of other like little phallic kind of interesting symbols in that scene as well. I have to go and relook at them again, but yeah, that was the biggest one, is that flower sitting on his breakfast tray.
It's very suggestive.
Yeah.
And this is PG, folks. This is why the parental guidance is there. Also, there's a masturbation scene.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw a trivia note somewhere when I was just like just briefly looking at it. They're like, someone was going to be in the movie before someone else, but they decided not to do it because of the masturbation scene.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think they're going to have Burt Lancaster play Rand, maybe.
Damn, we love Burt Lancaster from The Swimmer. Yeah, You're right.
Yeah.
And then also Laurence Olivier was the one who turned it down because he's like, I don't want to be involved with the masturbation scene.
I do think it worked out for the best. I do think Melvin Howard, he won Best Supporting Actor for this movie, but he plays Ben Rand. And I think his character is one of the best characters.
Oh no, let's think about this. What is his name? Ben Rand? What is it?
Yeah.
Melvin Douglas versus George Burns.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Who's
George Burns.
Away?
Well, the problem is George Burns. I would love to see it, but George Burns would sort of outshine the comedy role, and so I don't know if it would work. But yeah, pragmatically set them apart. Well, George Burns beats everybody, but
He'd pull out a knife, be like, "Get out of here, white boy."
yeah, he would have he'd have Chance chain smoking cigars.
Man, there was a cigar scene in this movie. Shout out. He didn't know how to light the cigar. I felt very seen in that moment. I'm like, Chance is just autistic. He's just really autistic. That's what this is about.
Yeah, it's just this is just about traversing the world with autism.
Did you guys notice Fran Brill, the lady from all the Muppet stuff? She helps out the Muppets a lot. It was the female attorney from the beginning of the movie.
That was okay. Yeah. And
some
then
reason she's in this.
That guy was in it. That other male attorney guy. He's in stuff before too. I didn't look him up, but
yeah, everyone. It was a good casting. I liked everyone I saw. Just shout out cast real quick.
Yeah, and an interesting thing to tie in with him and Plants is, and I didn't put this in here, but I think a lot of the scenes with him later on in the film, the attorney, like when he's reacting to seeing Chance and he's like, oh, this is the guy we remember from the house, all this stuff. He's by, I believe, a lot of dead plants. So
okay. He's a piece of shit. He's like,
Yeah.
how am I going to get ahead in my job now?
Yeah,
That
so it's
harassed this
interesting.
autistic man, kicked him out of his home.
Yeah, so it's interesting. There's a lot of like I said, there's some cases where people don't have plants yet, and that's just because they're sort of an outsider to influence. But then, you know, with the attorney guy, he's next to like some straw-looking dead plants, so he's already been influenced and crossed that bridge.
Damn.
And then I guess the big thing in this, because there's all the visual clues and stuff, but there's the major moment at the end of the film with the infamous walking on water sequence.
Yeah, take it home, sweetie.
Yeah, it has a few interpretive values. It functions as a Rorschach test, basically. There's the divine interpretation that he's a miracle worker. But then there's the satirical interpretation that he's too simple to know that he should sink. And the difference between the film and the book. Now, this scene is not even in the book. The ending of the book
Too
is
dumb
like,
to die.
Yeah, the end of the book is, I believe he's just sitting there and he's at a party and he's, I might be wrong on this, but he's just doing an anonymous grin and he's just sitting at a party and it just life continues on. But in the movie, they specifically wanted to give it that fabulistic feel, so they did this scene, and it plays into the concept of the altruistic holy fool versus the hollow soul. So as Chance walks across the water in the end, is it because he is of divine property, or simply that he does not understand the concept of sinking and therefore doesn't? Going back to the rules of interpretation, it's honestly both, given the route you want to choose. And then the irony of it all is that when it was all said and done, Jerzy Kosinski, who actually was pretty avid against his script being changed, he used to butt heads with Hal Ashby and he was difficult. He actually thought the film was better than the book, mainly due to the new tone Ashby provided.
Rare W. Hal Ashby.
Yeah.
Kicking ass, taking names.
And then there's the final scene that actually sort of plays into confusion. That scene's controversial. It's obviously the little blooper reel segment where Peter Sellers is sitting there. He's in more candid form, and he's talking about he's butchering his lines, and he's just cracking up. The controversial element of it is that Peter Sellers hated it. He hated that was in the movie. He actually thought that it costed him his Best Actor Oscar. He thought for sure if that was not in there, he would have gotten the Academy Award. And then there is various people online who hate it as well because, you know, it tampers with that one ending of the walking on water, which is almost sort of like a perfect ending.
Yeah, it's like leaving on a note of like Tarkovsky or something, and then all of a sudden you're in like a Wayans Brothers movie.
yeah. And so, but I will say this, being somebody that's watched it multiple times, I actually have grown to like that sequence, and I think there's actually a little bit more of a meta application to it. And the reason why is it all correlates with the multiple interpretations, and it acts as a release valve. And so it's a tonal reminder to lighten up after the heavy philosophical ending. This goes further because as there are so many elements of interpretive value in the film, and you know, there's like I for one, I'll get lost in the mix of it all. I'll start looking for clues the whole movie. I don't even really watch the full on narrative value anymore. I'm looking for clues around every corner. And so it's sort of a shout out to as you're lost in the scramble, Peter Sellers just shows up and he's laughing. And he simply tells you to let it go. The film's over. And that also coincides with breaking the spell, which Ashby prevents the audience from worshiping the image of chance. It pulls back the layer that the machinery behind the magic, and it contrasts against the miracle ending with the reality ending.
Are you saying because he pokes the stick down into the water?
Well, that, but then the laughing, it drops you off a cliff. The blooper reel, yeah. That is another
blooper reel. Goddamn, the other ending.
Yeah, sorry. So it's the release valve. So the blooper reel is a release valve, right? Because I've been lost in the mix the whole time looking for clues, and we're like, what does this mean? And you can see people just perplexed by the ending, and then it goes to blooper reel, and so it sort of is like a shock to your system because it's so polar opposite that it brings you back down to earth, kind of thing. And then it's the ultimate paradox. The film is most magnificent when it allows the viewer to hold two opposing truths at the same time: the beauty of the cinematic miracle and the messy reality of the human laugh. And then the final thing I think is it's a nod to Peter Sellers. Even though he hated it and thought it cost him an Oscar, I think Ashby somewhat put it in there as a nod to Peter Sellers because for nearly a decade before the film was made, Peter Sellers was campaigning to be Chance. He famously told Kaczynski, I would not act him, I would be myself. And then Kaczynski was always skeptical, but he was finally won over when Sellers just showed him basic things like he would hold a water hose and stuff like that. So the scene is Sellers breaking character and being human on set, which helps correlate the connection. So I think that's ultimately a reason why. I think Ashby sort of likes to go down those rabbit holes, and he likes to connect with the human nature. So I think that's a big reason why that's in there. But it is tonally off-putting. It's just I've grown to appreciate it just because I've seen the movie.
It was good.
So many
It gives
times.
you a shot of adrenaline right before you leave.
Yeah.
That's being there, man. That's being there, man. I don't know. I kind of want to like put an end cap on it. So let's do that. Let's recommend it and give our recommendations, and maybe talk about what is similar. I'll go last. Adam, you start. Do you recommend Being There from 1979, and what else is similar, if anything?
Yeah, I think I would recommend it. I mean, I think it takes a certain, like we've talked about that before. It takes a certain type of audience member for older movies, and I think that if you could like slow yourself down a bit, you're gonna see you'll get some nice humor from this movie, and something that had me constantly thinking about while watching this was Twin Peaks season 3. I see a lot of correlation. I see David Lynch watching this and being like, "There's Dougie Jones," because like
that's interesting. I didn't think about that till just now. That is like because he's a mirror in that show.
Yeah.
Like, and how often like Dougie just saying things like there's that scene where Tom Sizemore is going to poison Dougie, and Dougie doesn't say anything. What does he do? He's like picking some like lint or something off of his shoulders or something.
It's dandruff. It's even more embarrassing.
Yeah, dandruff, and like Tom Sizemore starts crying, and he's just like, "I'm so sorry, Dougie." And like, somehow throughout the entire series, like Dougie is able to convince people of things without ever really saying much. And in fact, in that, he's doing the echolalia thing where he's just repeating back what people say to him. And there are a few times, where Chance does that too in this film. And I don't know, like I said, immediately while watching this, I was like, I think David Lynch is a fan of Being There.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think our character Chance would have survived a little person running at him with an ice pick?
I mean, I have to think so. He's gonna like, he would notice that there's like a flower coming through the sidewalk that he needs to like tend to, and he would, that would be the way he knocks out the guy.
Yeah, he definitely would dodge the assailant through irony. It'd be so.
Is Coop like also in this season 3? Is he like repeating lines from TV or anything, or no? I don't remember. I don't think so. But yeah, this is super similar. That's an amazing point, Adam. I'm glad you brought that up. And is there any? I guess you gave me what is similar, and you recommend it. My last question for you, Adam: would you rewatch this with your wife?
I would, because I would have to. She sat down to watch this with me, and I looked over about 10 minutes in, and she was asleep. To be fair, this I think that was even before "Thus Spake Zarathustra." I butchered that. Came
that
on,
scene.
so it was all like classical and like really, really soft music at first. I was like, "Oh, she's not going to last through this."
No, I was in the same boat, so I feel her.
But I told her, this
spaghetti.
morning I was
Oh, you're
like,
right.
I was just pointing out this morning. I was like, "Hey, this guy did Harold and Maude," so I think like that would have her a little bit more into seeing it again.
Yeah. Give her some motivation. There's also the Jack Nicholson movie. We should watch that one. That one sounds sick.
Oh yeah, Landlord's good too. I would.
Yeah, Landlord too. Yeah, maybe we'll watch some more Hal Ashby. Spaghetti, what do you think? Do you recommend? Funny question. Do you recommend the movie you brought to the podcast, and what else is similar? I know you wrote some notes in there about what is similar. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the movie for me directly, I'm a bit more of a fan of it than other people, just because I think it sort of hopped in my life at the correct time, and it's one that I got a chance to study in school, and so it sort of is that honeymoon kind of film for me, where I sort of remember when I was like learning and stuff like that, and so yeah, I definitely recommend it. I know that it can be a tough film because it's slow. It's one of those that you have to just give it time, and the real merit is the more you watch it, the more that there's multiple different endings, and so I think that I've just been fortunate enough to fall into a situation where I did watch it multiple times, and so that's probably why I like it the way I do. But I understand where anybody's take is on it, because that's sort of the point of the film. Hal Ashby himself, I think he's a brilliant director, and I'm pretty sure in the beginning it was probably, I saw Harold and Maude probably first, like everybody does. It's sort of the gateway Hal Ashby movie. And then I saw this, but since then I've been enamored with a lot of his films, and one film that's very similar is The Landlord. That's his first film, and that's similar. I already touched on that, but also the editing style in The Landlord's very similar. There's those surrealist cuts, and I think Ashby, that's something I sort of flew over earlier in here, but Ashby was very instrumental in doing the, both the classical form of editing scene transitions, but then also the abstract form, like in Being There, they do the whole Basketball Jones sequence, and it's very analog television, in your face, and so there's clear stuff, and The Landlord does a lot of that kind of energy also, so I definitely recommend The Landlord as a similar spot. The film The Gods Must Be Crazy is a film I just sort of brought in there because it's got that, it's about an African tribe where a Coke bottle falls in the middle of their tribe, and then it's the irony, the tribe's people think it's like something from God, and then they like all these different chain of events happen, and it's sort of the interesting object lands in the middle of them, and it's like an outsider's perspective to an item that, so it correlates with Chance reacting to the outside world kind of thing. And then I would say the big another big one, but it's also sort of in reverse, The Truman Show. But as much as they're similar, they're different, because Truman doesn't know that his reality is television, versus Chance doesn't believe, or he doesn't realize that his reality is not television. So, Chance doesn't know how to bridge the gap between the physical plane and the reality of television, but in the Truman Show, reality is television. So I figured those would be two very interesting films to sort of watch back to back.
Yeah, I can see what you're getting at with that. It'd be a weird double feature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which one do you put first? Do you put the comedy first or the slow movie first? Slow movie first, probably, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
There you go. And then you put Twin Peaks season 3, so we already covered that one. Hell yeah! But you recommend this, and you wanted to bring it to the podcast, show it to more people, because I mean, like, I don't know about it, so there's probably tons of people who don't know about this interesting movie.
Yeah, I always like to sort of deep dive into movies that are sort of a puzzle in a game. That's that think out of the side of the box kind of thing. So that's why I wanted to sort of jump into it.
You wouldn't think of driving without your rear view mirror. And yet some people still drive without a fuzzbuster.
Hey, it's me, it's Dan. I'm here at the podcast. I recommend being there. I said it earlier, but I think that just exemplifies what we do here on the podcast, which is we don't necessarily review and assign star ratings. We ritualize and we kind of obsess over a movie, all these details, and this movie is in that fashion, in that spirit, and I would love to rewatch it. I give it a heart. Check it out, folks. Being there. I want to be alive. I haven't said that yet. That's it. This is a long ass document we got this week, but we made it through, and we just got to talk about next week's movie. Adam, did you pick a movie for next week?
Yes, I did, Dan. And I like the 70s so much. We're going to stay here for a while. We're going to watch 1977's horror fantasy Eraserhead. And for all of you out there, stay tuned for a special announcement next week.
Yeah, I forgot about, you told me about Eraserhead, so I'm excited to watch that. Yeah,
it's been a while.
Obviously a classic.
Yeah.
The one I don't have on Blu-ray anymore. Damn it.
Yeah.
I traded it because I was like, they're going to do 4K surely within the year, and they just still haven't.
Yeah. Talk about your symbology films. Yep. That's a big one.
Join us next week. We'll watch Eraserhead, and we'll talk about it in detail. I'm sure it'll be an amazing discussion. And I want to thank Spaghetti for coming on the show this week. Thanks for leading this entire discussion. I think together we came together and made a very approachable Being There episode.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me, and I know that I sort of droned on and on about the themes. It's one of those where you sort of have to just sort of read through it in bulk, and hopefully the right person sort of gets attached to it. If not, whatever. But yeah, it's one of those kind of interesting films that I hope more people see. I think that there's definitely some merit there. So yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
With barely any preparation, this is a pretty good episode. It could have been way, way crazier and off the wall. We did a good ass job. Give us thanks, folks. And I'm gonna give you thanks again, Spaghetti. Check him out on Letterboxd. It's various Spaghetti, B Bergman something.
Sorry, dogs.
Oh, you're good. B Bergman something 11. I don't know. Check it out. It's in the description.
Yeah, B Bergman 11. I think it sounds like an old ass man's email address. I think.
Is this all you're doing now? Is this all you're doing now? You're just doing the podcast?
Yeah. I mean, Letterboxd once in a while. I don't go into essays as much as I used to because I'm doing other things at my work. But yeah, I still keep up with it.
Well, follow him and keep up with him on Letterboxd, just like I do. And come and join the Discord. I've said it again. He's in the Discord. We can check out his Letterboxd reviews and add your own to our own. I want to read your reviews. Come on, join us. And Adam, do you have any words of wisdom for our amazing listeners that have sat through this 2-hour podcast?
You guys need to get your white ass out of here quick, or I'll cut it.
And just for you folks, in the credits, after credits, there's going to be a review from Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel. Enjoy. That's our show, everybody. Good night.
Yo, we from the planet Jazz. We're here to take over your honky asses, including you, host of the show.
Jazz alien Quado Mono invented the Big Five sound.
Yo, we're taking you to hell. You could be in hell, bitch.
White monkey.
It's a wrap, boys. I'm going to stop recording.
Somewhere out there, Chance is still looking for Raphael. They'll deliver that message.
Now Gene starts with Peter Sellers and Being There.
Being There is a satiric comedy with Peter Sellers giving a great performance, one of his best in years, as a mysterious man whose only experience with life comes from watching television and tending his garden. He's a simple-minded gardener who becomes a national hero, and through a complicated set of circumstances, Sellers soon finds himself in a three-way conversation with the President of the United States and with one of the world's richest men. Now remember, all that Sellers knows about life is TV and his garden. The three men are discussing the sorry state of the nation's economy.
Mr. Garner, do you agree with Ben, or do you think we can stimulate growth through temporary incentives?
As long as the roots are not severed, all is well, and all will be well in the garden.
In the garden?
Yes. In a garden, growth has its season. First comes spring and summer, but then we have fall and winter. And then we get spring and summer again.
Spring and summer?
Yes.
Then fall and winter?
Yes.
I think what our insightful young friend is saying is that we welcome the inevitable seasons of nature, but we're upset by the seasons of our economy.
Yes. There will be growth in the spring.
Well, Mr. Garner, I must admit that is one of the most refreshing and optimistic statements I've heard in a very, very long time.
Well, he makes a hit with the president, Jack Warden, and also with Melvyn Douglas. And after a television interview, Sellers quickly becomes a national sensation. Everybody wants his opinions, even though he's simply a gardener who can neither read nor write. Everyone wants a part of his success. He's a national media star, even though he's an apparent know-nothing. And at a Washington cocktail party, a book publisher tries to get Sellers' words of wisdom into print.
Hello, Ronald. How are you?
Just fine.
Good. I am fine, too.
Good, good.
Yes, good. We're fine.
Yeah, fine. Mr. Gardner, my editors and I have been wondering if you would consider writing a book for us. Something about your political philosophy. What do you say?
I can't write.
Of course not. Who can nowadays? Listen, I have trouble writing a postcard to my children. Look, we can give you a six-figure advance. I'll provide you with the very best ghostwriter proofreaders.
I can't read.
Of course you can't. No one has the time. We glance at things, we watch television.
I like to watch TV.
Oh, sure you do. No one reads.
This is a very offbeat but thoroughly original film. What happens to us during the movie is that we begin to see the world afresh through Peter Sellers' eyes, through the eyes of an innocent person who is seeing the outside world for the first time. and our world does really look strange through innocent eyes. In that way, Being There is not only an original comedy, it's a poetic statement on the condition of our contemporary world. I thought it was a terrific picture.
I thought it was terrific, too. A really good job of direction by Hal Ashby, whose last film was Coming Home.
He's fine.
He does a real good job of taking this very limited tone, because Sellers can only really act within a very narrow range in this particular role, and making it work for the whole movie. I can see how this could be a satiric review for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but the fact that it works and it's inventive and challenging and fresh for 2 hours is a real triumph, and I really like this film.
And a tribute, I think, to Sellers, of course. I have been so sick and tired of him replaying Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther movies for years now. This is fresh. This brings us back to the Sellers of Dr. Strangelove, a really distinguished performance, and I also think the film has a serious, wistful kind of statement to make. This guy, all he knows is TV in this garden. When he leaves his home, where he's been sheltered for years, he walks out and he carries with him one of those TV remote control clickers, right? He walks out on the streets of Washington. We see these streets as strange places. I mean, it's like visiting this planet for the first time. He has a gang kid come up to him and threaten him. He takes out his TV clicker and snaps it at him. Now, what a strange thing. I mean, you know, this concentration we have on TV.
There's the perfect logic there. That has always worked before for him whenever he saw something he didn't like. You know, incidentally, I like Sellers when he plays Clouseau, but apart from that, we do forget what a good actor he is. And in this film, how well he sells this premise, which is, I think, in a way, it's a kind of a serious message. The higher up you get in American politics, the more the platitude rules, until when you finally get to the top, you're in the land of the platitude, and so the platitudinous man is king. You can almost believe that the president would buy this guy talking to him about plant in the spring, you know, and harvest in the fall.
Anything that makes sense.
Anything
remotely,
like that, right. Good film. We were most enthusiastic about Being There, with Peter Sellers playing a simple-minded gardener who smiles his way into the White House inner circle. We both admire this movie very much and give it 2 yes votes. We strongly recommend that you see Being There.